Thank you for joining us. Okay, so today for class, I thought we would focus on using our hands for touch and weight as a little extra thing in poses. Because when, I teach, I like to be able to support people in poses with my hands, with support. And because I haven't been in person for so long because of COVID, I haven't been able to touch people in that way. But I thought that I would help you find those resources for yourself. I mean, it's not going to be the same, but it's just another way to explore your practice and what may support you in poses. So let's begin. So if we come down to line on the mat with the feet on the floor, and we just bring our hands right into those thigh sockets. See if you can really press into those thigh sockets and feel this will help press your lower pelvis into the mat. You can then put them on the side of your hips and press, or these two bony front bits of your pelvis, and press those into the mat. See if you can feel how that grounds in. And you might also get more awareness of your sacrum, which is that big bone underneath. So just you can press and hold, a few breaths into the thigh sockets, pressing those hands. You can press a few into the front of those pelvic bones. And then you can bring them up on your rib cage and just allow the rib cage to widen as you breathe, and just feel into that. How using your hands can really support you in your breath and in your breath awareness. And of course, you can change the positions of your hands and even put them closer to behind the rib cage. And breathe in. And then take your hands back to your pelvis, and you can either hold those front bones with thumbs on the side, or you can press into them. And then inhale and extend the legs up, and then bring them down. Another thing you can do is have your thumbs on the lower ribs, and then one of your other fingers on those thigh bones, and just notice if it's even or not as you're bending and straightening your legs. So you're just trying to feel that relationship between the lower ribs and the top of the pelvis as we're doing this pose. And then if you want to have a little different awareness, you can just bring the hands under the head. And here, if you want to, you can press your thumbs into the base of your head, so those sides of the head that are like the sit bones of the head. And you can give yourself a little massage, or you can give yourself a little pull to try to lengthen the neck. And then just do two more like this. And then release the legs. And then we'll just do a little twist, and you can use your hand to support this. So if you start to drop both, we'll bring the knees up and start to drop them to the right side. And this is where you can use this is my right hand, yes, to support the legs, and press as much or as little as you want. You can have those knees quite far off the ground, or you can really use the hand to press towards the floor. And this is going to give you a stretch in that the side, or like I just got a click in my shoulder blade, which is nice. So this is when you can really use the weight of your arm to really press the knees towards the floor. And then inhale the legs up. So feel free to use the pressure that serves you in this pose. And then lift the knees up and exhale to the left side. And I find it easier to get the feet to the floor first, and then bring my hand to the outer thighs and really press towards the floor. You want to, as best as you can, keep the opposite shoulder and arm on the floor. And then bring that up. And then you can take your hands on your shins and just press the knees towards the chest. You can roll the forehead up if you're okay in the neck. You can release that a little bit. Take another breath. And then again, press them in, head up. And then on the next one, you're going to try to get a little bit of roll in this and see if you can come up to sitting. So if I press, bring my head up and start to roll a little bit, then I can come up. So maybe that didn't work for you, but you can try that. And then I've got cat fur on my legs. And then we'll do a boat pose by cupping the hands under the thighs here. So what you could do is then you can really press those shoulder blades down, lift the chest, and slowly start with the shins parallel. And if you're feeling okay there, you can start to straighten the legs. And then release it down. Maybe just widen the feet a little bit and just do a bit of rocking side to side just to soften the abdominals a little bit. And bring the feet back on the floor. Cup the hands underneath the lower part of the back of the thighs, hamstrings, and then starting to come into boat pose. So you can start with the shins and then slowly press through the legs. And then slowly release down. And then we're just going to do a little stretch for the hands, and this is something you can go at your own comfort level. So if you bring the palms down and place the knees on the hands, you can either tuck the toes under and then, do a little bit of pressure back and forth and get a little bit of a hand massage, but also the wrist stretch. Maybe it'll stretch into other parts of your forearm. I've been forgetting to do this myself, but it feels really good for me to do this. You can even roll the knees around in there. And then if you put your shins down and try to come sit towards the heels, Maybe you can get more of a stretch through the fronts of the arms. And then you can release that. And then just place the hands down. And we'll just go into a downward facing dog. So bring your arms straight between your shoulders and your hands if you can. And see if you can really find the connection between the hands and the shoulder blades. Then you can tuck the toes and then start to press back so the sit bones come up, and you really use your legs here to support you. And then walk the feet and the hands towards each other. And since you're, keep the little bit of bend in the legs, and you can bring your hands on top of your feet to really, you can even bring your fingers between your toes to really stretch your toes out. So when we come up to standing, that you feel like your feet are there. You can also check your insteps here with your hands. You can even bring your hands to give your insteps a little bit of lift. You can also take your pointer to your little toe back to your heel to feel that length. You can also bring your thumb and your pointer to press the big toe mound and the little toe side, so that all 4 quadrants of the foot are really pressing into the floor. And then to come up to standing, bring your hands to your ankles, to your shins, to your knees, and see if just weighting into your knees here helps you weight into your feet. Weight as in W-E-I-G-H-T, not W-A-T, A-I-T. And then you could bring them to your thighs, and then to your pelvis, and then slowly come up to standing. And standing, I'm facing you so you can see me more or less, but I think it'll help. But you can be front on your mat if that works better for you. So I'm standing in the middle of my mat, and I'm just putting my hands on my hip bones here. And then we're going to bend into Utkatasana and see what happens. Do you find yourself bringing the belly forward, or can you actually use your hands where the thumbs really press down and the fingers on the front like lift them up a little bit, so that there's no arch in the sacrum. And then come back up to standing. And then just release the arms down for a breath. Just notice how your arms are. And then again, bring the hands back on the hips. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift up at the front, and the thumb is going to press towards the floor as we go into Utkatasana, powerful pose. So this is where you can actually do your hands, more and get that lift, and you can also bring them behind you and just give yourself that stroke down the lower back into the buttocks. And then inhale, coming up again. Hands down. And now we'll try it the traditional way and just see if you've got more awareness in your pelvis. So inhale, arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale into Utkatasana. Do you feel more weighted in the pelvis? Do you feel more lift in the front? Just a question. There's no correct or right answer. It's just, what are you noticing? And then inhale, slowly come up. Exhale, bring the arms down. And then we're just going to step the feet wide. And again, you've got the hands on the hips. And you're just trying to get that lift in the front and the length in the back. And then just soften at the knees. And turn that back foot toe to heel. And the front foot heel to toe. Now see if you can just really have your hands firm on your hips as you go into triangle pose. We'll do this a couple of different ways just to notice if things change or stay the same. Inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. Again, you can weight your hands a bit on the pelvis. Have the knees soft and bent. And then the back foot toe to heel, front foot heel to toe. And then really lifting the front of the pelvis, pressing the back down, and coming into triangle pose. Really feeling how those legs really support you. Then inhale, coming up, bring the feet parallel. Now we're going to add something to this. So again, soften the legs. Back foot toe to heel, front foot heel to toe. So for you, it might be your left is the back and your right foot's the front. Now this time as you go down, you're going to take your arm, same leg, and you're just going to try to stroke it up front thigh. See if you can really use that hand to give you lift in that front muscle there, that quadricep muscles. Yeah. And maybe just keep the hand here, right up at the top to remind you to stay here. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel. You can again soften in the knees when you turn to the other side. So toe, back foot is toe to heel, front foot heel to toe. And then you come down, take the same leg as the front leg, same arm, and stroke up to really engage that ham quadricep muscle. And then if you want to leave it up at the top of that engagement, keep it there. Yeah. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, keep that little softness. And then we'll do triangle one last time. You can go as deep into it as you want and just see if it's different or you have more awareness or whatever. So take that back foot toe to heel, front foot heel to toe, and then do whatever you want. If you want to focus on the hips, if you want to get that lift going, and then you can extend through the arms if that feels right for your practice right now. See if you really feel that engagement in the legs and perhaps some freedom through the arms. And then inhale, slowly come up, Hands on the hips. And then to the other side. So might be the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe. Then come into the pose as you feel. You can use both of those things, hands on the hips. You can stroke the quadricep. And then see if you can just bring the arms into it. And perhaps find the freedom to it and the power in those legs. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. Just bring them back into Tadasana. Just stand in Tadasana for a few breaths and just notice what you notice. We'll go ahead and do another Urdhva Hastasana into Utkatasana. So inhale the arms overhead and go into powerful pose. Notice how that feels. Inhale, come up. Exhale the arms down. And bring those hands on those hips again. And bring the legs out wide. Keep the knees soft. Take the back foot, toe to heel. Front foot, heel to toe. And this time you're going to bend deeply. Now here's where you can take the front hand again and really bring it onto that thigh. See if you can really weight yourself into the pose. You can keep the back hand on the back hip to really weight yourself down into, first, obviously it's warrior two. And then if you bring that forearm and really weight into that thigh, see how that goes for you for Parsvottanasana. Now this last part might be tricky, so if you need to stay here with the arm on the thigh, that's great. But if you can, bring it up and help stroke that up arm up and over. Get that length and holding that wrist, feeling that length in the whole side body. If not, you can just keep the arm down, or you can do that, hold it a few breaths up and then bring the arm down. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, hands on the hips. That got my blood flowing, so maybe that'll get your blood flowing too. So the back foot, toe to heel, front foot, heel to toe, and then bend. And then the first stage is really taking that hand and putting some pressure on that upper thigh to go deeper into the pose. Second stage is to put the forearm down and again, really weight yourself into that, getting as much power in the legs here. And then the third part is stroking that arm up, holding at the wrist, feeling that whole length in the side body, if that works for you. Otherwise, you can just drop the arm back down. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel. And since you're here, we'll just do a little bit of a forward bend here with the legs wide. So if you're okay, you can keep the hands on the hips and lift the chest up and look up. And again, you're lifting the fronts of the thigh bone, of these thigh bones, front of the hip bones, and releasing the back of the hips. And then slowly come forward. Now, if you're okay with bringing the hands down, this is where blocks can be helpful. You can just stay here for a few breaths if you're okay. Now, if you want to do a little variation, you can place one hand into the middle and then bring the other arm up. And again, if you want to use the hands, you can weight that hand back into the hip first and then lift the arm up. Because what will happen sometimes is the pelvis will, you want to keep the pelvis level when you do this. You don't want to be lifting the pelvis and changing that. So sometimes the hand helps to find that stability, even putting it right on your sacrum here, and then lifting the arm up. And then bringing the hand back down, and if you can do it. I mean, if you need to have bend in your knees, that's all right. Put the other hand down, and you can place the top hand on the sacrum first, really pressing it long. And then bring the arm up. Bring both hands down. And if you want to go a little further, you could just hold on to the shins if that's the easiest place to hold on. Or you can hold on to the big toes with the first two fingers and the thumb. And then inhale, look forward, and then just bending the arms in. If you need to put your hands on your thighs, you can do that, or behind your thighs, or on your calf muscles. Whatever your range of motion is, do that. And then slowly bring the hands forward and bending the knees, and you might want to bring them a little closer. But we're going to try to find a way to come down to sitting here. So you might be able to put your hands down, bring your legs here, and then come down to sitting. Now, there are, bird poses where we do these hand and forearm balances. Not going to quite get there today. But we're going to sit with legs wide, and again, bring those hands right into those thigh sockets. Just really weight the leg down. And then if you can have one hand on the thigh and one on the foot, you can really stretch out the back of the leg there. You can also just bring the hand here to the shin and try to really flex that foot while you're pressing that leg down. Because what we're trying to do is really ground the legs to the floor. A lot of times people sit in this position and, there's a lot of space under the legs and it's not very grounded, but we're just going to do a few things to try to ground it. So you can if you can't reach that far, you can just put the hand here, or you can put both hands on that thigh to really ground that down. And if you have the flexibility, you could hold the toes, just stretch them back towards you to open the back of the leg. And then inhale, come up. So you've done that on one side, and just notice what you notice on the other side. Is there a difference? If there's not, no worries, just noticing the difference. So then switch hands. So you've got one hand on the thigh, and then if you can reach the toes, you can press them back, or you can just bring them down to the shins and press there, or you can bring both hands on the thigh, press the back of the leg down. And come back to sitting, and again, press those hands on the thigh. I probably should have said if you can't sit here very comfortably, you can always sit on something. Now, starting here, keep the hands pressed on the thighs. You can start to come forward a little bit. Then you might want to press lower on those thighs. So we'll go at this in stages. Then you might want to press onto your shins. You really always want to be careful around your knees. And then if you can hold the big toes, you can hold the big toes here. But if you can't, you can keep the legs wherever you can keep the hands. I don't know if I said that right. You can keep the hands on the legs wherever it works for you if you can't grab the big toe. And again, if you want to go deeper, you can always pull on the big toes, inhale, look up, exhale, coming forward. And again, sometimes you have to, when you do this, you have to remind your legs to still keep pressing to the floor. And then inhale, slowly come up. And then just shake out the legs, because we've really been kind of working on the legs. And then we'll just go into a little bit of an arm stretch, and we'll go into Gomukhasana. So if you know that it's hard for you to cross the legs, you can sit on more, or you can, just modify. But the full pose is coming on all fours, lifting the leg up, and actually sitting back on the foot. But you don't have to do that. You can sit between the feet. You can sit on a block. Or you could just, cross your legs and easy cross legs if that's easier for you to do. So just modify it as you see fit. So I have my left knee in front, so it'll be the opposite arms going up. So how we want to go into this pose today is really bringing that elbow up. And here's where you can really use your arm to give yourself some pressure with that elbow so that it's going up to the sky. If you have limitations, of course, keep it lower or whatever you need to do. But the idea is eventually if you can point that elbow up to the top, you're creating stretch there. And then just release that, and we're going to take this arm and support the back position. So when you're bending that back arm between the shoulder blade, you can take this hand and support it and put it where it can fit. It may only go behind the rib cage or behind the waist, but you just want to hold the arm there. The other thing you do with that hand is really open through the front of the shoulder here. You can bring your fingers along your collarbone notches and press out into the shoulder here. And then if you're up for the final part of it, you can inhale the right arm up. See if you can find the fingers. You may not. I'm not. Release the arms. You may need to shake them out. You'll definitely need to come forward and change sides with your legs. Sitting on the back foot. Again, the first piece of it is holding the opposite elbow up with the opposite arm, so you get that stretch. Then release that and bring the opposite hand behind you. And then use your hand to place it somewhere in between. The shoulder blades are right below it, or the waist. And then the hand can come up, give you some of that width across the shoulder blade into the shoulder. For me, this feels quite good. You know, I'd love to do a little massaging in there. And then if you want to do the whole thing, bring the other arm up. And then release. And then come into some kind of Shavasana. If you want to do feet up the wall, feet on a chair, just bring yourself into that pose. So taking some time to get yourself settled into the pose. Just becoming aware of what you notice in your body. And whatever part of your body is on the floor, see if you can feel it really widen and spread and bring a little bit more weight into gravity, into the floor. Perhaps because we used our arms quite a bit and our hands, maybe they feel like they've had a little workout themselves. See if you can soften from your shoulder blades all the way down your upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, into the hands, the fingers, the back of the hand. See if you can let them feel weighted and supported in the floor. So that gravity allows them to really be on the floor, be supported, feel that support. And perhaps your throat softens, your eyeballs rest into the eye socket. I'm going to read a tiny little poem from a new book I got, where the woman is an artist and she draws these beautiful flowers. She writes poetry. So this is one of the little poems. The darkness is the womb, the space that holds beginnings, the threshold between death and rebirth, where possibility shapes itself into form. What can you birth from its hidden fruitfulness? So I'll read that through again. The darkness is the womb, the space that holds beginnings, the threshold between death and rebirth, where possibility shapes itself into form. What can you birth from its hidden fruitfulness? My artist's name is Carrie Schmidt. And then slowly begin to deepen your breathing, finding a little bit of movement in the hands, the fingers. Roll slowly to your right side. Come up to sitting. Namaste. Thank you for watching and joining us. And namaste, and have a great day or evening. Namaste. Thank you for watching and joining us.